I wanna hear your voice. You should say all of the things you wanna say. You can be her right here today. I wanna hear your voice. Be free and tell your story.
Goddess, you made it. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Goddesshood. We're not just a show, we're a collective. We believe that the healing of one contributes to the healing of all. On our show, you will hear stories and tips that will inspire you to live, love, laugh, and exist on freaking purpose. Let's live. I'm Thea, a podcast mentor dedicated to empowering women. At Goddesshood, we focus on helping women find and use their authentic voices through podcasting, fostering a deep connection with themselves and with other women. It is my privilege to introduce Inga Faison-Cavitt, aka Ingafay, is an authenticity strategist. She left her engineering career to follow her entrepreneurial spirit and now pursues her dream life full of faith, family, freedom, flexibility, and fitness. She enjoys empowering women to live their best life and helps women become top earners by using authentic lead generation and sales strategies that treat people like humans and not numbers. Welcome, Inga.
Thanks for having me, Thea.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get to know you, right? And have a little fun. I always tell people, don't overthink this part. Just like go with your first mind. We're going to ask rapid fire fun questions for the audience to get to know you. And if you're listening and you want a chance to win a gift that helps you unlock more playfulness in your life, complete our questionnaire to be entered into a drawing. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I would want to be a mind reader.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because I work with I help people with their mindset. And oftentimes we see what we think. I'll say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could know what people were thinking, I would know who to avoid and who to collaborate with and connect with. Because, people put on those personas that they're one way, but then the real person comes out. So to really be able to read their mind and know that ahead of time, then I could just negate the drama from the beginning and keep it moving. Do you feel me?
That's good. That's good. Save the drama for your mama. Okay. What is one childish thing that you still do to this day?
I love to sit and watch rom-coms and just kind of have that. I know when I was growing up, I always had this fantasy of how my wedding was going to be and who my husband was going to be. Now that I'm older and I have my husband and I'm happy, I still somewhat have that somewhat of illusion to just kind of think, well, what if it was so-and-so and so, or what if it was so-and-so and so? How would it be different? How would it be worse? Would I be happy? That kind of thing. So I guess it's kind of just the dreaming aspect of life in general, because you do that as a kid, wondering how you're going to be when you grow up. And then I guess I'm grown up now, but of course I'm wondering how I'm going to be as I get older, that kind of thing.
Wow. So. I never thought about that. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I could see that of like, oh, if it was so-and-so, it might be more like fun, or it might be more boring, or it might be like we're homebodies all the time. I don't know. It could be different.
It could be different, right? Because it would be different because they're different. So
absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay, I like it. And I love rom-coms, by the way. So I'm like Lifetime movie, like a holic back in the day. That was every Lifetime movie. Oh, I've seen it.
Oh yeah, before Netflix, before the streaming apps, I was a Lifetime groupie as well. So, but since the streaming apps have come into play, I don't watch Lifetime as much as I used to, for sure.
Same, because there's so much TV.
Oh, it is. It's just too much TV. Way too much.
It's too much. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay. Let's get into the juiciness of today's question, which is how to be more authentic. And, Inga, y'all, is a authenticity strategist. And, here at Goddesshood, we help, women podcasters find their authentic voices. And so this feels like a mashup that is just waiting to happen. So we both have our own stories of authenticity and kind of how we've not been true to ourselves and what that's looked like. So I think today, first, I want to start off by saying, as the audience, you guys are listening in, know that just because you exist, you are enough.
Yes.
Right? So I want to start there. That's like ground zero, right? Just you existing is enough. And so then I kind of want us to roll into it. And, you can kick us off with, kind of your experience of not being authentic in work and kind of how that led to this journey of becoming an authenticity strategist.
Sure. Yeah. So when I started in my entrepreneur journey, I started in direct sales. And as a direct seller, I was always trained by folks that were extroverted. So, of course, when you're trained by people, just like you train people to be podcasters, you're going to teach them what you know, right? I mean, that's just what we do. So they were basically teaching me how to be an extrovert, which really never resonated with me because I knew in my heart of hearts that I'm an introvert. But I did it anyway because I felt like I had to replicate what they were doing because they were successful and they had the success that I wanted. But what I soon realized was, granted, they had the success that I wanted, but just because they did it that way didn't mean I had to do it that way, because that way didn't really resonate with me. I always wondered why I was always so tired and really didn't like what I was doing. It really kind of felt icky to me inside. And I'm sure that I illuminated that energy that I felt icky that would repel people from me when it came to me selling the products that I was selling. So when I really became true to myself, I felt like I had more connection with my customers, had deeper relationships with them. It wasn't just about me selling them a product. It wasn't a transactional relationship. It was more of a genuine relationship where we were talking like we were girls, not because I sold them XYZ product. So after learning that and really feeling that, it was just like, wow, now how did this come about? Now, as you already said that I'm an engineer by training. So me kind of problem solving comes really natural to me because I've been trained to do that for years. So I'm kind of really reverse engineering. Why is this happening the way it's happening? Why am I feeling this way now when I didn't feel that way before? Oh, wow, I'm actually doing things that really resonate with me. So that's when it became like an aha moment, was just like, wow. So I know there's other people out there that are entrepreneurs that have introverted tendencies. And I oftentimes say it that way because for whatever reason, people don't want to admit that they're introvert because it's like the bad word. So just in my market research, when I said introverted tendencies, I had more people to raise their hand. So that's how I really describe us. But at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that I had a way for them to really genuinely be able to grow their business and not spend all this energy being somebody that they weren't, and really be able to thrive being authentically them by using their innate gifts to grow their business and knocking down all these misnomers about introverts being anti-sociable. They can't talk in front of people. They're not good leaders. Just knocking all that stuff down and really showing that we truly can shine when we're put in an environment that allows us to be ourselves. And that we're really in tune with us being ourselves so we can tell others about us, because at the end of the day, we are in the minority. One out of four person is an introvert. So the other three are extroverts. So that's why everybody looking at us kind of sideways when we do certain things, because they just don't get us. So it was just really important for me to help us figure out a way to we can conserve our energy, be who we were meant to be, and really thrive in our innate gifts.
Absolutely. And I just want to highlight this one thing. Before y'all start labeling yourselves, go look up the actual definitions of words and take the emotion out of it for a bit, because sometimes we'll apply these negative connotations because society has put these things on the words. But when we go back to the basics of vocabulary, of grammar, of all, really look at what words mean, the etymology of the word, and you'll start to see that, these other things that we think about an introvert is not necessarily, it's an extra additive of what society feels like. And I would argue that there's probably more introverts than we realize, but people just don't want to identify.
Oh, that could be true too.
With that, because or ambiverts as well, because I'm also in the middle.
A little bit of both, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, that's really interesting. That's juicy. Okay, so what did it take for you to what was the breaking point where you were like, okay, this is just too much. It's not working. I'm spinning my wheels. What was that moment that was the aha moment?
I guess the real aha moment for me was COVID. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it was because I no longer had to rely on the folks that were mentors to me, because everybody was scrambling. Everybody was trying to figure out how to do it. So, it became more of a point, well, I'm going to figure something out and maybe talk to somebody and we can share on what we're doing differently or how we're doing something, and maybe we can learn from each other. But that was really my aha moment, because I had to do something different. My business was in person and local. And as we all know, that wouldn't happen during COVID. So I had to do something completely out of my comfort zone. Many of us did, by getting on social media, on the internet, where I had never done that before. And none of the folks that I knew did it that way either. So we were all learning. So that's when it really became obvious to me what to, doing it a little bit differently and how I was going to figure it out. And then, through trial and error, I did figure it out. And now I'm helping others not have to walk down that long road of tweaking and repeating to make it work for them.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. And it's funny, I worked for a company in person when I was still in California, and they didn't like me at all because I was like tech background and I was coming into this other environment, and I was like, so wait, you want me to be in person for this meeting, right? And this when I was at a bigger tech company, I won't say the name, but I was, used to like doing video chats and stuff. And I was like, well, can't we just like all hop on like a video chat? Can y'all FaceTime me in or something? And they were like, no, you need to be here in person in the office. And I was like, okay. And then when COVID happened, I remember everybody was scrambling, and I was like, didn't I like say something about this a while ago? But what I've loved about, going to that model of working from home is being able to, there's like a couple layers of like, one, being a Black woman, two, being not as extroverted as everyone else. And so I feel like I have definitely conserved a lot more energy in this space, because I'm not having to put on all these extra like pieces of armor when going into like, I feel like I was putting on my breastplate of righteousness, my salvation of truth. Like, I was like putting on all the armor of God to go into the office.
No, I feel you. I feel you, girl. And I did it too. It's just like you put on your happy face and it's just like, oh, I'm going to go do this because this is what everybody else is doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so challenging back in the day. I remember getting chastised. We want to keep you on board, but you just don't seem to be enjoying what you do. I was like, but my output is amazing and the work is phenomenal and people keep coming back to these programs. Why does it matter what my face looks like when I'm doing the work? But it's getting that, so it's really interesting. So I think, okay, yes, COVID happened, right?
Yep.
And, people had to do things differently. And I still feel like there's a level of courage that it takes to start operating more as yourself.
Yeah.
So what kind of gave you the courage to keep showing up every day in that new way?
Yeah, well, I think the key to really being true to yourself is, I think you need to highlight the little wins that you have. I think so oftentimes when we're doing something completely out of our comfort zone, or we're trying to level up to a different status, we are always looking for the big win. We see ourselves down at the bottom of the stairs and we got to walk all the way up at the top, okay? But we don't take in all the little steps that we took to get us to that win, because it's an addition of all those steps that gets us there. It's not just one huge step that we just leaped to where we want to go. So one thing I strongly recommend, and I know I do for myself every day, is basically just write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, maybe 3 wins that I've had, just so I can feel like, well, I did do something. Now, granted, I didn't get exactly where I want to be, but I did get from here to here. So that's better than yesterday. So just making sure that you highlight that and know that you are making some achievements and documenting those achievements. So that would be the first thing that I would say.
That's really good. So they can refer back to it when
yes,
things
you can refer back. So I have tons of journals. I have journals way back when all of this started, March of 2020. And sometimes I go back and I look through the little things that I've written, and it was just like, wow, man, I've come a long way from where I was. All the stuff I've learned over these 4+ years has really been phenomenal when I go back and look to see where I was then compared to where I am now. So I would definitely say that. Another thing that I would definitely say is make it a point to get out of your comfort zone on a regular basis. So
Mm,
kind of feel the sting of, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to figure it
mhm,
out. I think that definitely gives you courage. And I call it it builds your courage muscle. I think of it almost like working out when you're doing your ab work or you're lifting weights and you're going up in weight as you continuously work out. You're doing this consistently
mhm,
and you can see yourself going up in weight. So when you do a new workout, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I did the workout last week and I'm going to change this to this. And because I did it last week and I knew that if I kept doing it and I was consistent with it, I'm going to get better. Then when this new thing comes, it's just like, okay, well, I can refer back. Well, I didn't know what I was doing when I did this, X. So now that I'm doing Y, I know I'm going to be okay because I figured it out when I did X. So now it's
mhm,
going to help me do Y, which will then help me do Z. So having that confidence that you've done it once so you can do it again, I think is really important too. Because I think that's why people stay in those deadbeat jobs and they really don't step out of their comfort zone because they don't know anything different and they're not really
mhm,
sure if they can succeed because they haven't done it yet or they haven't done it before. So
mhm,
it's really imperative to have those type of experiences that are going to push you out of your comfort zone. And they may not necessarily be work related. Like for me personally, I did a bodybuilding competition when I was in grad school, and it was basically 6 months of hell. I'm gonna just put it out there.
mhm.
It was. I
Yeah,
mean,
bodybuilding is hard.
yeah. I mean, completely different eating habit, working out twice a day, maybe three. No, I take that back. No, it was twice a day. It was twice a day. Working out twice a day. I mean, it was completely different mindset. Um, but based on that experience, I remember one time I was like running in the snow. It was just like, Inga, this is like really deep. If you're like running in the snow, I mean, really?
Yeah.
You would have never done this before. But I
Mhm,
knew I had a goal that I was working to achieve. So I was going to do whatever it took to do that. So then when it came to starting a new business or doing something different when it came with COVID, I had that same mindset that I figured it out then. So I'm going to figure it out now and then I'm going to get it. And then I'm going to, whatever else comes in my way, it's just going to make that much better to be able to handle it and go to the next level. So I think that's really important for you to do that on a regular basis to push
mhm,
yourself out. And then last but definitely not least is oftentimes we have this thing that we do is we compare ourselves to other people. And the thing about it is most of the time when we compare ourselves, it's not even like a good comparison. It's like we're weak in one area and this person is really rocking it in that area. So we think we suck, but we never think about the things that we're really good at that person may suck at. Yeah, it holds us back. So
I know.
yeah, just making sure that you have your blinders on. Granted, you want to be around people that are doing big things because they are going to encourage you to do big things, but not to the point that you have to sit there and compare yourself. Well, they did A and I did B and I'm not good at A, but they're really good at B. So so it's letting go of that and just walking out your purpose, finding out what really you're meant to be and do while you're here on this earth and just walking it out.
Mhm.
And it's different for everybody. Nobody has the same purpose.
Absolutely. I mean, and asking someone like, "Hey, what did you do?" You create camaraderie and you start to like break that down when you can say then like, "Hey, I would love for you to like educate me in what you've done." Like
Right.
I feel like that's, totally like feasible, right? But you're right, we create all these weird stories in our heads about like these narratives of like, oh, we're not good at this or we're not good at that. And then we totally negate every single thing that we've just totally worked for and accomplished, you
Yeah.
know?
And that we
You're
can
right.
really rock. So for
Mhm.
sure.
I love that. I love that. Do you have any like short tips about how like you interrupt those like thought patterns? Like when you start talking to yourself, are there things that you say to yourself where you're like, Inga, nope, not today. We're not doing that.
The one thing I like to do, and I really got this, I can't think of her name right now, but I don't know if you've heard about the book that's called the 5 second rule.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of the author right now, but she basically says that you count down 5 seconds and you just act. Because I think that's what happens to us. We overthink things instead of just acting on it. And most of the time when we act on it, it's not like it's not going to be a life-threatening type of thing. It's just we just took the next step. And what I have found is that the next step to take is really not as scary as we think it is on the other side. When we take it, it was just like, that wasn't that bad at all. I don't even know why I was tripping on that. But you had to take the action. I know when I think about entrepreneurship compared to somebody working a 9 to 5, it's often when you think about entrepreneurship, you're nervous about it because it's not a outlined path. It's not like a path where when I was growing up, it's like you go to school, you get your degree, you work for XYZ company for 30 years, you get your gold watch, and then you're poor. Everybody knows that path, right?
Can you say it? Then you're poor. Sorry.
No,
That was the
serious.
truth. That was so real.
Okay. So people know that path. So when people take that path, there's no hesitation. There's no like, oh my gosh, what are you doing kind of thing. Because that's the typical path most people take, right? But when you're an entrepreneur, your steps are not as known, I'll say. And the next step is not known until you take the step you're supposed to take right now. There's no looking ahead. There's no flipping, you're reading a book and you're trying to read the end of the story to find out exactly what happened. There's none of that with entrepreneurship. It's like, okay, this is chapter 1. You need to take chapter 1. Nope, there's no looking at chapter 2 till you get this done. You got to do this right here. And then you got to move forward again. And I think that's the hesitation, because people don't know the path. They know the path of a 9 to 5 because that's what everybody and their mama has been doing. But for those of us that are entrepreneurs, there are ebbs and flows that go with the business. And as a result of that, it gets scary sometimes because you don't know what the path is. So,
it's so funny though. We don't know the path with an actual 9 to 5 because
you don't. I mean, in actuality, you don't. But for whatever reason, it's safe because most people are doing it. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, it's so interesting. No, I mean, it's not you. I'm quite like, I want everybody to understand, it's the logic around this. There's no actual logic around this, like this path is safe. And so I think when we take that into account and we think about taking those types of risks for ourselves and betting on ourselves a little bit more, not just like as far as entrepreneurship or a job, but like in other areas, you really never really know.
No, you don't. Yeah.
You don't. Like, you have to sit in your intuition, you have to trust yourself, and you have to take steps when you get information, so you continue to move forward every day. That's huge. Okay. So I'm just thinking through everything you've said, and it's just so interesting how we tend to put ourselves in our own paralysis, or we get in our own way in a lot of ways, and I really like what you said about doing little things to build your courage. I had a mentor that once said, a lot of us are set to a certain temperature. Like, we all have our thermostat, where some of us might be set to, 70 degrees. And then as soon as we start getting up to 90 degrees because we're increasing our, capacity, then immediately we find a way to turn ourselves back down 70 degrees. So if you can do more things, like Inga's saying, to get outside of that comfort zone, you can then set your thermostat up a little bit higher, each time. And so it's about getting your nervous system comfortable with the new version, the new elevated person, right?
Yep.
So that's big. That's really big. Okay, so can you break down this like this career of an authenticity strategist and kind of explain to people what that, like, your day-to-day might look like in this role? Because I'm also very curious.
Yeah. So, well, I don't think it's like specific to my role. I mean, I think it's just the life of an entrepreneur. I mean, I'll just be perfectly honest with you with that. What the first and foremost, when I wake up, I do my devotional, so I just kind of have direction for the day. So that's number one that I do. Secondly, I'm all about investing in myself. So I spend a lot of time with personal development. So I do that every day. I'm learning something new every day. And it's at least 30 minutes of my day. I typically do it early in the day, so it's not interrupting anything else. I've learned that if it's something that I really need to do, I need to do it early more so than late, because the day can get away from you, for sure. I'm also an advocate of planning your day on paper before you walk it out, because when you do it that way, even if your day gets away from you, you can go back and look at your plan and say, okay, I know it was 2:00 and I'm supposed to be doing this, although the last couple of hours did not go my way. But I know I'm supposed to be doing this at 2:00. So let me just get back to the schedule. Even though I've missed out on my other stuff, I can get back to what's done at 2:00 and keep it moving. I've had days like that. Car breaks down, son gets sick. I mean, life in general happens. So
Mhm.
knowing what you're doing before you walk it out, it gives you that opportunity to get back on track.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I make it a point to work out. That's very important to me, just from my mental state of being able to relieve some of the stress that comes through the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship. And being able to relieve that stress through workout. And also knowing that my health is my wealth. So taking care of my body is going to help me be more creative and innovative, because if I'm sick, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I'm meant to do because my body's not in check. But when my body's in check, that means my mind can be creating different things and coming up with different ideas that are going to serve my community that will then be value added to them, which as a result of that will bring more money to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing about your a day in the life of Inga. So we're at the portion of the show called "The Vibes Are Vibing," and this is the portion of the show where we leave our audience with an affirmational card and a song from our Goddesshood playlist. So think of this as your card for the week. Today I'm pulling from the same deck every time, but I'm going to tell you guys again anyway. It's Wisdom del Alma, 44 affirmation cards to activate your inner diosa. Diosa in Spanish is goddess. So this is how it works, Inga. I'm going to shuffle the cards.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you to pick a hand, and you will tell me which hand you want me to pick. And some people are like, the third card down from the left pile. Whatever you want to tell me, we can do. So I'm just going to shuffle a little bit and infuse our energy into it. Okay. So I have two piles. I have a left pile and I have a right pile. The right pile is a little bit bigger than the left pile.
Okay. I'm going to go with the right pile, pick the 5th card.
Okay. Y'all got me to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is a good one. Okay. I hold space for all my emotions and I cradle them with devotion. I am the guardian of my well-being. It is my acceptance of all my emotions that I find freedom. I listen to the wisdom of my emotions and I let them teach me. I witness them and I learn. And this card is so beautiful. It kind of has a braid around I hold all of my emotions together.
Cool.
Isn't that beautiful? All right, Inga, that was a good one. Okay, all right. And then, okay, our show has a curated companion playlist and each song has a story. I am a music lover, so I don't care how old a song is. we will use it. So this week's song is "Phenomenal" by Janelle Monáe, and I picked this song because it explores that all the stages and places you're in. And so, like in the beginning of the song, she's like, "I'm looking at 1,000 versions of myself, and we're all fine." And I'm not going to swear today because we have Miss Ingo on the call. And then she says, "How do you feel?" "Phenomenal." And she's like, "Dance, because there's nobody else like you." Right?
Right.
And I really feel like when it comes to this authenticity journey, you have to be committed to being you in all spaces, places, and ways. And even though, like, normally I would let a few, swear words drop, but because we're in each other's presence, I still acknowledge this is how I would normally do things, but I'm showing up this way because I'm with somebody else, right? So you could still be yourself, you could still show up yourself and still respect and commune with people in a way that, honors you and them. And so I just want to call that out too, because that is a huge part of being authentic, right? Doesn't mean you're yourself no matter what everybody else thinks and you just run over people. It also means, you show up with people in a way that honors them too. So do you have any final offerings or words you want to leave with the audience before we wrap up?
I would just say that if there's anything out there that you are deciding that you want to do and you're kind of fearful of taking that next step, I say, girl, just do it. I promise you, when you get on the other side, it's not going to be as bad as you thought it would be. And then the more steps that you take like that, the better off you'll be, because you'll grow into that person that you were meant to be because you took those steps. I think that's why so many people are fearful of doing something new, because it's the unknown. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And oftentimes, what do we think about? We think about the negative aspect of whatever we're about to do. But what about the positive? Why couldn't it be positive? You know, why couldn't it flourish into something magical that you just didn't expect at all? It was just a total shock to you. So just step out on faith and think positively, similar to what I was talking about when we first started, that the mindset is so we see what we think about. So if you think negative thoughts, that's what you're going to attract, negativity. When you see positive things, that's what you're going to attract, positivity. Does that mean that because you're thinking positive thoughts, no negative things happen to you? No, ma'am. It does not mean that at all. But you do have a different perspective than someone that has a negative thought pattern of it. You'll see, oh, wow, this was really a learning. And as a result of this, I'm going to be that much better the next time. Yeah, that's the way that we want to look at it. Failure is a good thing. So just look at it as a key learning. And because you failed, you will know not to do it again that way.
Okay.
So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Goddesshood with Thea and Inga. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and head to the show notes for some goodies. And remember to live, love, laugh, and exist on frickin' purpose. Go live.
Yes.
I wanna hear your voice. You should say all of the things you wanna say. You can be her right here today.